The turmoil continues after the Human Services Department stopped Medicaid funding to 8 behavioral health providers. Several hundred protesters flocked to a legislative hearing this week, and providers say their services to their clients are very much in jeopardy. Now, State Auditor Hector Balderas has entered the fray. He sought a copy of that same audit that found evidence of alleged overcharging, I say alleged, overcharging and fraud, and State Human Services Director Sydney Squire refused. Mr. Balderas on Tuesday got a state district judge to subpoena the audit. So joining us to talk about all of this, former Lieutenant Governor Diane Denich. Nice to have you back. From the Morning Brew television program, Larry Aarons is with us. Former New Mexican House Republican Whip Daniel Foley, he's been away for 3 weeks, but he is back. And editor of the New Mexico Law Review, Sophie Martin is here as well. Now, Sophie, the story just keeps growing, certainly, but let me read you something from Mr. Balderas, his statement that he said, "It is necessary," and I like that word necessary, "that my auditors fully review the report issued by the Public Consulting Group in order to assess the risks to public funds and the potential impact on the Human Services Department's financial affairs," he said in part. Now, with that context, is he quite right to step into this, or should he have waited for the process to go through the AG's office first? Does he have a legal avenue here to do this?
Well, it's a good question. It is a complicated situation because we have these different divisions within the state government, and we also have different parties at play, right? We've got the Republican governor, we've got the Democrats sitting in the AG's office, the Attorney General's office, and the auditor's office, and we are gearing up for the governor's election. So
and the AG election.
And the AG election, Attorney General election. So there's a lot going on. I think, though, we're not, as citizens, I think we want to see more oversight, not less. And so while there may be some jockeying happening here where the auditor's office wants to see it, the Attorney General's office wants to see it, I will say I honestly don't know if there's a problem here with this, too many cooks in that kitchen.
Right.
I do think, though, that the electorate is going to want to see their elected officials really casting a careful eye on this. Because bottom line, what we've got here is New Mexicans potentially not getting the mental health services that they need.
That's right.
And that's of concern. Clearly it's of concern to the governor's office, but it is also of concern to the New Mexico.
And just to back that up, the governor has come out and said that she does not anticipate, Lieutenant Governor, that services will be dropped. She's anticipating this carrying forward. I'm going to read you some of the response from Secretary Squire. She said that at this time, no determination has been made that any individual entity violated federal or state criminal statute, nor does Human Services have the authority to make such a determination. She said that in part. It seems to me that's exactly what she has been saying up until this point. That is exactly what she has been accusing these people of. How do those two things square when you hear that?
Well, I think she's been less than honest in her answers, and I think they have a huge communications problem on their hand. At the LFC hearing this week, she used the word fraud repeatedly over and over and over again. So that response doesn't square with what she is saying. There were several hundred people in the LFC hearing at the university this week, and only one of the providers was invited to respond. But Senator Mary Kay Papen, who knows this subject well and who has been very involved in mental health and behavioral health all of her career in the state Senate, asked some very hard questions. But one of the things she pointed out is that regardless of what the outcome is, Secretary Squires has destroyed some people's reputation by either guilt by association. I don't think anybody's questioning that we want oversight. Secondly, Optum, the managed care organization that's supposed to have been asking these questions for the last 3 years, 2010, 11, 12, and 13, is getting a complete pass. This is their job. If they saw this happening, their job is not to say, we need an audit. Their job is to go to the providers and say, what's happening here?
That would seem like the normal steps one would take, Dan Foley, because why do we have to spend $3 million of taxpayer money, over $3 million of taxpayer money, for this audit of something that could have been handled in-state? Why do we need to spend that kind of money
Well,
outside?
to answer that question, I don't know, Gene. I mean, it could be a qualification for getting federal funding. Lots of times, the federal funding that flows through requires an outside entity to come in periodically and do these audits. I don't know. I'm not saying that's what it is, but we don't know. What we do know, though, is that the Attorney General has kind of sided with the Health and Human Services Department on this. I mean, the Attorney General said, by federal law, once this comes out, their hands are tied. They don't have a lot of ability to say, well, we'll keep paying these people and not paying those people. I think that, the administration and specifically the Secretary is going to have to, this is not going to be one of those things that you can say, okay, fraud. You know what? You charged us 9 cents for a pill that should have been 8 cents, and now you're in trouble. There's going to have to be some substantial proof come forward in this situation.
Right.
I think that the state auditor who I served with in the legislature, Hector Balderas, good man, good New Mexican. I think in the Marine Corps we used to say good initiative, poor judgment. I think his timing couldn't have been worse. Because this is a fraud accusation, which is a legal question, which goes to the Attorney General for the Attorney General to come back and say, yes, we have fraud, or we don't.
He says he is obligated to check if it's having impact on the finances of the department. He has an obligation to look into that.
And this
is not correct?
But they don't know if it's having an impact yet. These entities are saying it's impacting their ability to do business. The Health and Human Services hasn't come before the committees and say, we're minus $100 million, we need more funding today.
Okay.
I think he has a role. I think he's jumping forward in his role, and I think it's going to taint his findings because people are going to say there's just another New Mexico politician playing politics. I think they got to get to the bottom of this.
We got Larry Aarons in here. Larry, good to see you. Hold there, Lieutenant Governor. Some good work done by our peers at New Mexico In Depth, Bryant Furlow specifically, that revealed that in fact Ms. Squire had stated, and Matt Kennicott, the PR person for the department, stated they had to do it the way they did initially and just stop all the funding because of the federal law. And it turned out that's not the case. They did not have to do it the way they did it. Are they just playing on the back heel now, and on the back foot, as the English say, and they can't kind of get forward with this by the way it just was offered to the public in the first place?
Yeah. This is what makes it so confusing, and as Sophie alluded to, the average citizen is just trying to figure this out, because the surprising thing out of all this is Gary King actually had something to say about something,
right?
And he sided with the state in this matter, although that wasn't a formal opinion.
Sure.
But then on the other hand, I understand when the lawyer for these agencies stands up and says, our clients are guilty by association here, unless you name who's doing the frauding.
Sure. And how much?
We got a real
and
problem
how, and
here, because our clients are being badly misrepresented here.
Exactly right. What do you make of where we stand now? Lieutenant Governor brought up, we had a big meeting. Ms. Squire, of course, famously or infamously left a meeting a couple of weeks ago, but now she's back talking to folks. Where does she go with this now? Does she have the ability to just tamp down, just all stop and just not say anything from this point forward? Is that her best next move on this?
Yeah, and when you do that, the media is left to speculate,
Right.
and that's never a good thing. They never speculate in a positive way.
Right.
So if she disappears off the radar for a while, I don't see a good outcome.
Right. Sophie, they're right up against it, the providers, if we're to believe where they're at, right up against it. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe you might know this, Lieutenant Governor, I believe some of the providers down south have actually started to lose some folks already, some staff already on this. I could be quite an error in that. I apologize if I am. However, does this story take a wild turn if we in fact see a shutdown over the weekend, next Monday? What happens then?
I think one of the challenges that you have is that we're talking about a group of providers. They're serving a fragile population. We're not talking about people who have the option, the time necessarily to go searching for additional providers. To go, this is a group of people who need service on a regular basis. They need.
Sometimes that provider is the only provider in the area.
That's right.
You live
Huge
in Carlsbad, you're not going to go to Cruces to get help.
Jump in the car, and so the regular, consistent provision of services. That sounds so cold the way I said it, but those guys have to be there for their clients.
Let me go
They're
a
a
quick
lifeline.
question, yes, no answer. Should Secretary Squire follow the subpoena. Just, why mess around with it? Just follow the
it's
subpoena.
perplexing to me. It's paid for with public money.
Right.
And to the point of the Attorney General, he did say, we are looking into it, but he said we have not, he said publicly in the meeting, we have not determined that this is fraud.
Okay.
So he hasn't really agreed with them, but he's the Attorney General, there are allegations. And also, as the press has reported, the consulting group has come under a lot of scrutiny, and basically where they worked in other states, they allege $36 million worth of fraud, and they end up collecting
Getting a
much
piece of
less
it.
than their fee.
That's right.
of
That's right. Going to hold it right there. In a moment, we're back to talk about the drought and fracking and why some farmers are selling their water rights to the oil and gas industry.